Ladies and gentlemen, to Season 11, we're here with Round 1. It's a brand new day for the Sim Racing Alliance. It's going to be a little bit more punishing out here during qualifying.
It's definitely a hard one here. It's what it's like. It's very, very punishing.
For all the way in Germany, this will be the first time we see this in the team series here. This is a track where you will be driving the track, not as much driving the drivers on the track.
Very brave is the Ferrari to get the move done.
He does get the position done.
Oh, huge contact, and they're both going to go around. It's going to be a huge move up the inside.
He's been using every bit of the track.
Pedal to the metal, foot to the floor.
And we're off and away for SRA.
That is right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sim Racing Alliance GT3 Team Series. You are tuned into the Division 3 stream. We're here at the Red Bull Ring for a very soggy 5th race of this 12th season of the GT3 Team Series. I'm your host, Philip Mueller. Thank you all for having me. Returning to the booth once again, my co-commentator, Donovan Colton. Donovan, how are we feeling for this race today?
Feeling good. I'm excited for a wet race at a track I quite enjoy. So, and you know, D3 they've been entertaining all season. So I'm looking forward to it as always.
Absolutely. Red Bull Ring, a great track, should have a great race. Shout outs to all of my viewers out there on YouTube, watching live or watching the recording. Let us know in the chat how you're doing, how you're feeling, how we're sounding on stream. Let us know if we have any issues, and let us know, of course, as always, who you're rooting for to take this race. Who do we have support for in the chat? Call them out. Qualifying will be starting soon. In the meantime, let's take a quick look at our standings. So, as we have talked about before, we have mentioned that here at SRA we do a drop race. Your worst result of the season is removed from your points totals. Because of that, despite the fact that Mr. Rodrigo Fernandez no longer participating in the rest of the season due to real-life commitments. He missed the last race. He's going to miss this race. He's still showing up. You guessed it, number 1 on the time or on the point standings because of how dominant he was in the first 3 races. He will be dropping off after this race, but just had to give him one last shout out on his great performance, and we miss him. So, looking down the order, we've got Mr. Quentin Shatner, John Laz, and Curtis Lee, your top gold drivers here with 264, 233, and 227 points. Looking a little bit further down, got to point out Mr. Caleb Craig in 13th place, followed super close behind by Martin Riggs and Russell Allen. Those 3 gentlemen are top silver drivers, 180, 179, and 167 points. A super tight, super exciting battle for our silver drivers here. This is a super exciting season.
Yeah, it's a super interesting. I mean, I always love how close those silver championships end up being towards. We've seen it all the time, and yeah. So it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, we had Caleb Craig last week with the win, and Martin Riggs, I believe, got a P3 or P4.
He had a very good result, in that Bentley.
Yeah. Yep.
So looking at the team series, well, this is the team series. These are the team standings. We've got the midfield masters team of Zodi Fate and Quentin Shatner up top, followed close behind by the fan favorite Lexus boys, DJ Watts and Curtis Lee. Just 15 points behind. So we'll have to keep an eye on that battle as well. As we've said, looking at the track map, we are in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. It's one of the newer tracks. It's a DLC track, so we don't know how much experience all of our drivers have with it. But yeah, man, like you said, Donovan, this is a super fun track, not just for hot lapping, but I think it makes for some great racing.
Yeah, I think so too. It's got some tricky braking zones. It's got, we're in the wet, and there's actually a lot of curbs you can take in the wet, but there's a lot of curbs that if you try to take in the wet, it's just pretty much instant death if in the braking zones. Usually in the dry, you're taking so much curb in the braking zones, and you definitely can't do that in the wet here. But yeah, it's a really fun track in my opinion to drive in the wet. It really livens up the braking zones, and yeah, we could see some really cool battling. I'm assuming anyway. D3 always delivers, so.
Yep, so let us click on over to our race scene. Our silver drivers are just now leaving the pits. 19 minutes and 45 seconds on the board. This first 10-minute half of our qualifying session will be reserved for our silver drivers. We'll see how they perform. We are currently following along with our Coach Jeffrey's Academy silver prediction for this race, Mr. Sean Daniels of the GRR Cool Runnings McLaren team.
Yeah, and the track, it doesn't look super wet. I wonder how wet it is. It's definitely raining. But we could see, that's pretty wet.
Yeah, a little bit of spray, not a whole lot of puddles on the ground. You're right, this might be just kind of a light rain type of situation.
Yeah, and we will have variable weather. Technically, there is a chance it's not even going to be rainy for the race. Hopefully it is.
That's true.
But I mean, I always bring it up. But last season for D3 during our wet race, it actually wasn't wet for either qualifying or the race. But this one, I mean, we've got a wet qualifying at least, so I'm counting on a wet race as well.
Thank goodness for that. So we have our drivers just doing their outlaps here. So normally this is kind of the point where we would talk about our best laps on our our leaderboards, we usually keep a close eye on the practice leaderboards, but because of the variability of the wet race and wet qualifying practice servers, it really is hard to tell who is going to be the favorite going into this race.
Yeah, it's you pretty much have to be in the server during practice sessions to gauge the pace of your competitors and other drivers. There are I did some races with John Laz, at least. He's a gold driver. And he was monstrous at this track in the wet. So I've got my eye on him for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some. It's hard to tell though. Like I said, and you kind of have to be in the server with these drivers to kind of know where they're at with pace.
Yeah. So John Laz with the pace. Pat Cockcroft was the winner of the practice race yesterday. Man, I don't know about you, but it's interesting to see the success of Porsche in the wet. I mean, is it just me, or does that car, it seems like it should be a death trap if there's low traction.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's really good at keeping heat in the tires. And I mean, I feel like the Porsche can be a very good car in the wet if you could wrangle it in. It's not necessarily easy, but I think it could be a very strong car in the wet.
As we see Mr. Russell Allen in the Plan E Racing Porsche crossing the line with a first lap of a 134, quickly shattered by Mr. Caleb Craig in the Comic Racing Bentley, a 132.695, currently the bar that every driver is being measured up by. We're going to click that button so we can see the gaps. So yeah, that first lap from the Bentley, over a second ahead of every other driver on the field already. What an awesome just shot across the bow of the silver drivers by Mr. Caleb Craig.
Yeah, that kind of tells you that it's probably also on the lighter side of rain, like we were originally saying it, because a 32 6.9, that's pretty good for rain temperatures. And the Bentley, let's get a nice slide there. That is one of those curbs that can be a little deadly. But the Bentley, I think, is really strong in the wet. Granted, most of my Bentley exposure has been from really fast drivers too. So sometimes it's hard to tell what is the driver or what's the car. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty smoking time. I mean, if you look at all the first laps from our silver drivers, I mean, that's 0.8 clear. So I mean, obviously Caleb Craig has some serious pace. He won the last race, and if the Bentley's good at a track, it's gonna be quick in his hands for sure.
Yep, shout-outs to Team Matachard in the chat. We got Darren Robichaud and Matt Mattisey. They were hanging out yesterday in the Nordschleife Time Trial servers in the Ferrari Challenge, which was just interesting, and I had to mention it because that's a crazy car to take to the Nordschleife. As Kevin Johnson getting himself up into a provisional P2 in that West Coast, Best Coast Audi of his. Looking pretty good, a 133.457, still nowhere near Caleb Craig. What a monster.
Yeah, and Caleb Craig improves his time as well, even with that slide through T4.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's he's got some serious pace here.
Uday Dillon, another improvement of his own, getting himself a 133.245, taking that second place back. Looking good in that Herberth Motorsport Porsche. We've got the Yarin brothers, who we need to make sure we pronounce their name correctly. Apologies to both of them. I've been saying it wrong all season. We've got Mr. Jeremy Yarin in this... I love the Culver's livery, Ferrari 488. It's a good-looking car. I love the color scheme. I like the lighter color liveries that stand out on track. I don't know about you, but that
I do too.
That's a thing of mine.
I like dark liveries as well, but typically most of the liveries I tend to choose are super bright and noticeable. Like
you gotta stand out.
The light colors. Yeah. It definitely kind of helps to show you on track. But
whoa,
we got
had a little drama there.
Yeah, Aston.
It's that? No, it wasn't Holmes. It was one of our...
It was
Oh, it
either
was an
Burke
Aston?
or
I'm sorry.
Stephanie. Yeah, I think it might have been Burke. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so.
So a little sideways, but that's okay. This is a short track. I mean, obviously, 1.5 minutes per lap. So he will have 2 more attempts at this qualifying session to improve his time. So, you know, got in the way a little bit, but no big deal. We keep it moving. Got Kevin Johnson here. A little bit up on his time. We'll keep an eye on him. He does have
and
a bit
Caleb
of
Craig
traffic
also.
ahead.
And I was just gonna say, Caleb Craig improved again.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he just keeps improving. I mean, there will be track evolution. I'm assuming if it's not raining too hard, you know, which it still doesn't look like it's raining too hard. I'm pretty sure this is some really light raining. So my guess is this track is going to improve if the rain doesn't pick up, and so that just means, you know, the times are going to get faster and faster, especially, you know, for our gold drivers.
Definitely. So, I mean, Caleb Craig, as he comes out of this last turn here onto the start-finish straight, on for another improvement, crossing the line 0.3 up, a 132.157. It just keeps on coming with this guy, and he's got time for 2 more laps.
Yeah, that's great. I wonder if he brought enough fuel, because I know in the practice race yesterday, I actually thought I was expecting to not be able to do another lap, so I didn't bring enough fuel for that last lap. But yeah, I wonder if these drivers, you know, kind of thought about that. It's really close in the rain at the front on whether or not you'll be able to do that last lap. You know, it's not very many positions far back that it takes, you know, to not be able to do that last lap. So.
Yep. So on board here with Mike Cowley of the Riot Motorsport Ferrari 296 team, who got himself up into a provisional P2 with a 133.087, and coming out of this this turn 3 here, 0.3 up on his delta and improving. Mike Cowley, a good-looking car here. The teammate of, we got to give him a special shout-out, Mr. Derek Schweppe. I've been saying Schweppe, and he corrected me. Another name that I've been getting wrong all season. Schweppe, who we're missing this race. He's out due to shoulder surgery. So we're wishing him a speedy recovery. We can't wait to have him back. Derek Schweppe, the teammate of here, Mike Cowley, who coming out of this last turn, he actually lost that improvement on the delta. So crossing the line here, he'll have time for 1 more. See if he can make an improvement. We had Christian Holmes here in the Champion Motorsport Mercedes, the only other driver besides Caleb Craig to get into the 132s, with a 132.952, currently sitting a provisional P2. See how he can do on his last lap as well.
Yeah, it's really wild to see how it looks like, as Stephanie Fisher calls it, quits for this qualifying session. It's so spread out with those first couple positions, and then from what I think it was P3 really to P15 is less than 0.5, or about 0.5. I mean, that is really close between you know, most of these drivers, and, you know, a few outliers. But I mean, that's also shows how impressive of pace Caleb Craig seems to have around here.
Yeah, definitely. So this is our first time looking at Mr. Richie Wood in this Boddington's, is it Boddington's Pale Ale? It's Boddington's something ale. It's a tasty beer, but it's a good looking livery on this BD Red Eye McLaren. Richie Wood, being a British driver, you know, call me call me biased, but I would expect him to do pretty good in the wet here, being a British driver.
Yeah, he probably has experience driving in the wet. See how it does rain. It's known to rain there. Yeah, and I don't know how the McLaren, I've never actually driven it in the wet. I don't know how it does.
Oh,
nice.
So as he crosses the line, I believe he's going to be our last silver driver on track. Just barely pips Christian Holmes by 5/1000ths of a second. getting himself up into P2. So your silver results, Craig Wood-Holmes, Yaron Cowley, and Jake Queasy rounding out your top 6, as we have now, obviously, our gold drivers out on track. Let's check them out. We got John Laz here leaving the pits. Again, this is a lot of people's prediction for having a very strong result here out of our gold drivers. I mean, he's had, I don't think he's won any races yet.
Nope.
But
I don't think he has.
But he's had solid results throughout. I mean, he's always been near the top of the finishing order, top of the time charts. You can't count him out of any race, I believe.
No, he's a strong driver. I've had some really good battles with him in the past. He's definitely a very strong driver. Looks like he's waiting to go out because a lot of these drivers, I believe, are already on their push laps, and he's just on his out lap. So it's a little bit of a
he came out a bit
waiting.
late, it looked like.
Yeah, waiting maybe for some track evolution or something. Just maybe also counting on the rain not picking up, which it still looks like it hasn't picked up. So
I suppose we should jump on board with the Bailey Kishmobile, that lovely face you see on your hood there. This is Mr. Justin McKechnie, who will have our first time on the board here on this first flying lap of our gold drivers. Very interested in seeing what kind of pace he'll be setting. Only a 133.705. Surely some improvements to come out of him, especially if this track keeps evolving and getting faster as we go.
Which we have some info from our trackside commentator, Jay Queasy. He says it's damp with decreasing rain.
Damn,
so
that's
it's only
extremely
damp.
little rain.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, I'd be curious. Those are the type of conditions where, I mean, do these drivers even have a setup for this low of an amount of rain? I mean, that's dang near dry.
Yeah, you could really, get your tire pressures wrong at that if you choose, to go wets. It's kind of difficult because, I'd assume wets are still going to be faster in a qualifying. You're not doing that many laps if for a race, pretty much always if it's decreasing rain, I'm going to be thinking about dries at that point. But for a quality session, I think you're going to still be faster in those wets. But it's really difficult to get your tire pressures right and to get your temps right, because it's really easy to overheat your tires in conditions like this.
Yeah, I mean, as long as raindrops are still falling, which they appear to be, and as long as the track doesn't go from damp to greasy, yeah, I feel like staying on wets is the correct call for getting the most pace out of this car.
Yeah, turn 4 and turn 9 can be really challenging to get down, as Jay Queasy says in the chat as well. Turn 4 is like no grip. I did the Red Bull Ring Enduro and did some wet running on dries, and yeah, it's slippery in some of those braking zones for sure. As we see John Laz there going to P2, and I'm assuming he's gonna get that time down, but that also kind of goes to show how crazy fast that really was from Caleb Craig. Reminder, he's a silver driver, and and that's still really impressive time out of him.
Yep, absolutely. So John Laz, the first of our gold drivers to get into the 132s, and up on the Delta. Potentially an improvement coming on this lap, but a bit of traffic ahead. Might be wise to, bail.
It looks like the Mustang bails.
Very respectful. You love to see it.
Yep.
Not entirely sure what driver that was. That was Mr. Carlos Guzman. Another good result actually from last week.
Yeah, I'm pretty. He might have actually been P3 if I can recall correctly, and he's going out for new tires. So I wonder if he's made changes to his tire pressure, just realized that they were just absolutely cooking.
Yeah, it's too dry. The pressures were too high. Go back, make a couple clicks. He'll have time potentially for 2 more if he gets around the track in a speedy manner. Looking down the order, we've got Mr. Pat Cockcroft, who we mentioned had won the practice race yesterday, currently sitting down in P18 with a 133.515, but up on the Delta, so we'll see what kind of pace he can extract out of this this qualifying lap here. 3 minutes on the board. He'll have time for 2 more after this. Plenty of potential for improvement here.
Yeah, he's been putting in a lot of. I mean, he's been orchestrating a ton of practice races over, our off week.
Oh,
and,
that's right. That was Pat. Oh, dude, I
Yeah,
feel like
that
every
was
day
Pat,
it was,
yeah.
hey, get in here. We're doing a practice race.
Yeah. So he's had a lot of running around here, and it had definitely some fun battles over the weekend. But he's definitely a strong driver, especially in the races. So I've definitely got my eye out for him. Cockcroft minimum P4. Yeah, I think he's gonna get that time down.
Yep, so as he come, we've got 2 turns left in this lap here. These 2 super fast right-handers, careful on track limits. He is up 3/10 on the Delta, didn't get the greatest of exits coming out of that final turn. He'll lose a little bit, but still make an improvement up to 14th place with time for 2 more laps here.
Look how close the times are. It's crazy how close some of these times are.
Yeah, from
Speaking of
P3
close.
to P, call it P20, a half a second separating all of these drivers. This is super tight.
Super tight. Yeah, that's a good point, Darren. Yeah, Pat's driving one-armed for a while because he had a huge elbow injury that he's still healing from. So yeah, he's driving just right-handed only, and shifting.
Robert
I'm pretty
Kubica.
sure. I'm pretty sure he uses the McLaren wheel, so he could the one that you could shift, up and down with one paddle.
Oh
So-
wow, dude, that's a baller move.
Yeah, yep.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, he's been doing it all season actually. But yeah.
See, these are the storylines we need. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, 55 seconds left in this session here, and our gold drivers, I mean, surprisingly, still, of our top 11 positions, 10 of them are silver drivers. I think our golds are struggling with the conditions a bit.
Well, they say, rain is the great equalizer, right? And so, it's kind of interesting to see. It definitely will, close down the gap between a lot of drivers.
Yep, Phil Brown crossing the line here, an improvement on the board up to P7 with a 133.130. In the meantime, we had Carlos Guzman. He was, I believe he had come out of the pits late. He had to fix his pressures. He got him right, though. He got up into P9 with a 133.160. So well done to him.
That was just a one lap.
That was
too,
a
I
one
believe.
lapper. He got it
Yeah,
done.
it was just yeah.
Clutch performance there. We got Mr. Chris Sweeney still out on track, currently sitting P14, but a small improvement on the Delta, so looking to him to make a bit of a jump. Followed closely behind on track by Mr. John Laz. This will be his last attempt to make up that. I mean, he's only a half a tenth off of Caleb Craig. A little bit up on the Delta. We'll see if he can pull it off, but John Laz trying to steal away this pole position at the last minute here.
Yeah, it's really close between those drivers up there.
So looking a little bit further down the board, if our driver's still on track, we got Pat Cockcroft still driving around, but he's down on his Delta. Phil Brown down on his Delta. Chris Sweeney has lost a little bit of time. These conditions are so treacherous. Everybody is failing to make an improvement on this last lap here. Pat Cockcroft crossing the line. No improvement. Phil Brown giving up on it at the last minute. It was no improvement. Chris Sweeney, a tenth down. And same thing, John Laz at the very end, just not able to get it done. So your final qualifying order, Craig from Laz, from Wood, Holmes, Yaren, and Cowley. 5 silver drivers in our top 6.
Yeah, and a silver on pole. That's pretty awesome to see as we have a dry start.
Oh my lordy. The track is
Fast.
There's
Oh.
no rain on the 10 or 30 minute forecast. Oh,
hopefully that means it's
no.
mixed. Hopefully that means it's mixed. Oh man,
I cannot
I shouldn't have said last race.
You
Last
jinxed it.
season. That I did. It's D3.
Oh,
man.
I hope you guys have your dry setups ready. This is going to be a heck of a race, but before we jump into it, we have to do our usual sponsor messages on your screen now. We have all of our community supporter, sponsors, and title sponsors, and we have a new feature for this week. Let me introduce you to the sultry sounds of the voice of Mr. Jay Queasy with our sponsor read.
A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documise, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documise.com to learn more today. And support from Retro Saga, a North American based gaming company that provides accessories for your favourite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca. And a big thank you to our affiliates, Track Racer. Experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high quality sim rigs and accessories. Use code SRATE at checkout to support us. Armamentario, a toolbox for ACC that will enhance your chance to win. Enjoy a fully customizable and enhanced HUD to change the way you experience ACC. AT 3D Sim Shop. Upgrade your sim racing experience today with premium 3D printed accessories featuring precision crafted magnetic shifters, sleek cable management solutions, versatile stream deck mounts, and immersive dashboard displays. Their innovative designs enhance performance and style, elevate every lap with top-tier quality and craftsmanship at at3d.net. Go Setups, premium esports setups for everybody. Use our affiliate link on our Discord and take your drive to the next level. Castle and Cauldron, a home-based crafting business specializing in handmade Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and Fairy World collectibles. Magic wands, potions, mini dioramas, wall decor, costumery, cosplay, and much more. Castle and Cauldron is where crafting meets the magical. Visit facebook.com/Castle Cauldron. And from KP Concepts, your source for custom automotive renderings, graphic design, and printing. We spend countless hours making you look all good for the spectacle. Check out kpconcepts.com for more. A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA.
Very good. So thank you very much, Mr. Jay Queasy. That was our usual sponsor read. He took the time to do a recording and put in some visuals to go along with it. Mr. Jay Queasy, he has been absolutely crushing the content creation side of things for SRA. So we're very happy to have him around, and we're very excited to see how he does in this race in that beautiful livery he's got here. He had a great story about the British, I believe it's the Red Arrows flying squad of the Royal Air Force that he's got an homage to on this black Nissan GT-R livery. So Jay Queasy, thank you once again.
Yeah, he's been definitely putting in the countless hours. But yeah, and he's also opting, we were talking about bright liveries. He went for not that. However, it is a mean looking Nissan there. It definitely looks really good.
Absolutely. So we'll also take the time to mention
Oh, I think we're
Jumping
no
back
audio.
into... Oh. Shit. Yep. So, what you saw on screen as I was talking, those are our resources. The hurricane in Florida with the American Red Cross and direct relief, if it's possible, if you have the ability, give what you can. So, as we come up on the start-finish line, we've got Mr. Caleb Craig in the Bentley on pole position on the outside, hoping to make a lunge potentially around John Laz into turn 1. As we're crawling up, the lights are green. We're off and away.
Pretty far back.
John Laz,
Yeah.
a great jump.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it looked like Caleb Craig was just a little bit back.
Oh,
so
a little bumping behind.
we got some bumping. Yeah, I saw 3 wide.
Yeah.
That is not a turn you want to go 3 wide into. But it looks like we got minimal.
I believe that was Cowley who got a little bit of a tap and has fallen a fair few positions down into... It's hard to tell. It's updating.
Yeah.
18. Oh, turn 2
Well,
is
as we're
tight though as
5
well.
wide.
I am shocked that everybody made it through there, but it's clean. They're still going.
They're going, yeah, a little bit of bumping, but I mean, all the cars are still running, and
we're still good.
That's pretty. I mean, you do not go 5 wide very often and have everyone come out moving.
3 wide now into turn 3. They're keeping it super respectful. Well done to all of our Division 3 drivers. Everybody let some positions lost, but we're still keeping it moving forward. And yeah, so
yeah, Cowley goes late on the brakes there. Oh, and then we did miss it, but
Caleb Craig has gotten first place back from John Laz. Maybe a big dive into P2. So that Bentley top speed on this track here is going to be something to contend with. Cowley, though, if we can try to get a bit of a replay, we did see him get tapped going into turn 1. And so here in the infield section, trying to make a move.
I saw that send, yeah.
Keeping
Looks
it tight. I don't know what's happened. Into the next braking zone. We missed it, but just a little bit of trouble.
Fill in the blanks,
yeah,
maybe.
You knew there was a Mercedes close behind. And yeah. So we've got some interesting pit strategy calls happening. We've got both Kevin Johnston and Colin Shea opting for the super undercut, perhaps for damage, perhaps just a strategy call. So we've still got Caleb Craig out in front, ahead of John Laz. Carlos Guzman getting himself up into 3rd place, but under attack from Jake Wheezy into turn 3. Wheezy attempting to go around the outside. He's doing well to keep it side by side. So with this next left-hander, he will have
the inside.
A little touch.
Yep, a little bit of turning in.
But Guzman
there from
keeps
Guzman.
it on track. Does he?
Yep.
He
Pulling
immediately
over,
goes for the move to get the position back, pushing Queasy out onto the curbing. That curb, it looks innocent enough, but it's dangerous. And Queasy, it was just enough to upset his car, and Guzman taking back 4th place.
We saw Yarn there trying to take advantage of that, but in doing so, losing a position to Williams. You know, this is, I love it about this track. I feel like I see this sort of thing all the time as we're going 3 wide into T1. Last time that didn't go so well.
Oh no! Oh no! Yeah, that's... Jeremy, just go. Oh no! His brother! The team kill!
Oh my goodness.
The Yarn brothers make contact on the inside of turn 1. Jeremy was doing the gentlemanly thing to try to let Williams go back past, and ended up collecting his brother 28th and 30th position now.
Was that another? That Mercedes was sliding too. I wonder how. I mean, I know the track it started fast. I feel like it shouldn't be too slippery, but it seems like there's a lot of sliding around.
Yeah, so that's a good point. You know, if, say, for example, you were a driver who went to practice their dry setups in the time trial server where it's always optimum, you always have a ton of grip, these might be new conditions to you. You might not be used to having a little bit less traction, and it's just enough to make a difference. We see another yellow flag on track. This is Mr. Aiden Burke of the Stefaz Designs Bitch Peas team. Gonna try to get a replay to see what happened to him. Once again, this infield section, and I mean, he's by himself and just getting a little loose. You know, speaking of having less grip, and these guys, why are you stopped on track? Oh God! keep driving,
man.
Everybody. It's dangerous to stop. So we've got Caleb Craig still hanging out in first place. We got to jump back up to him because he is under immense threat from John Laz, who has not been dropped in the slightest. A gap of only 0.3 between these two. Man, this is shaping up to be a super hot battle.
Yeah, well, I mean, both of these drivers are fast, and look at, I mean, they've already eked out quite the gap to P3 here. So, you know, yeah, it's definitely going to be a tight battle between these two, and they're very different cars. So that, you know, Porsche has to keep up on the straights with the Bentley.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So the Porsche you would expect to be faster on kind of the infield section. I always call it. But yeah, the Bentley is going to be running away on the straights. John Laz probably fighting as much as he can to just stay in the slipstream of that beast and not get dropped on the straights, as we see Chris Sweeney making a move on the inside of Uday Dillon. This is a battle for 6th and 7th position on track. Chris Sweeney getting it done, and now trying to walk away, as Mark Anthony Eaton also putting the pressure on Uday Dillon into turn 1, going side by side. Around the outside, no way, he makes that work!
He makes it work!
What a move!
Oh my goodness! Wow. That it looks like his exit was a little bit compromised, likely maybe due to, you know, not wanting to run too wide, as we're going pretty tight with all these drivers. Man, there is nothing between these drivers. Justin's all over the back as well, trying to find, you know, a way through, pressure someone into a mistake. Uday Dillon is going to have the inside to turn 4 here. Mark Anthony Eaton, is he going to do another around the outside heroic move?
And behind, Henry Ramirez taking advantage of the chaos, getting himself side by side and past now Justin McKechnie up into 9th place. An opportunist and very smart move out of Mr. Henry Ramirez.
And finally, Eaton and Dillon are not side by side. That was pretty much 2 full sectors side by side.
Oh, but we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. It was just a little breather. And another around the outside. Beautiful
He's
moves
so
around
brave.
the outside.
How does he do that?
Here.
Oh no, Mr. Henry Ramirez. Oh, got
Going
a
wide.
little bumped out by McKechnie. He's going to lose 2 or 3 or potentially 4 positions here.
It's just so close between everybody. Any small, you know, bump like that, you know, can really cost you a lot of positions. Ooh, that's a lot of inside curb there.
Albert's on the curb, losing control of that Aston Martin.
Doesn't collect any cars though, but is that Sean Daniels in the background? I think he just did the same thing.
Was that the number 89 car? You're right, Mr. Sean Daniels. We'll try to go back a couple seconds to see what happened. Oh, that rejoin. Oh, yeah. I think we clicked onto the replay just in time. But wow, it was even before the curb. That was on entry.
It wasn't even the curb.
Wow, that was an interesting spin there.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Aston Martin of Aiden Burke was
the unfortunate casualty of.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. We'd have to look at Aiden Burke's car to see if there's a ton of damage on the front there. But
I mean, he was one of our early pitters. He had some early trouble, so I mean, he looks clean-ish.
Yeah, it might have.
So yeah.
Yeah. might have missed the I don't know. It was hard to tell, if that was a big crash or not, but.
So looking back up ahead, this is a battle for P4 and 5 on track. We're on board following Phil Brown in this PHR Taxi BMW, right up behind Mr. Jay Queasy in the GTR. But apparently that GTR pretty slippery in a straight line. And despite being speaking of slippery, on the exit of turn 2, Jay Queasy getting a little sideways. And now losing the position potentially to Mr. Brown, who will have the inside for turn 3. Who's braver on the brakes? Queasy around the outside. Say it ain't so. Look at it. Unbelievable stuff. These D3 drivers are making such amazing moves around the outside of these turns. Phil Brown doing it as well. Oh, this is great stuff.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is some phenomenal racing with these drivers. Phil Brown leaving space.
So respectful. You love to see it.
Yeah. As Jay Queasy not quite able to capitalize on that. I mean, it's a tall ask. That's a hard sector in the Nissan. But
we've had some trouble. This was Quentin Shatner, who was running well in, I believe it was 7th or 8th place, side by side with the Mustang, and a little too ambitious on the brakes, going into that fast left-hander. Off track. Whoa, dangerous rejoin, but he's back on track, though. He's still going. 20th position here for Shatner. A lot of improvement to make for him. Whew. In the meantime, it's still happening. We can't look at the front yet because we now have side by side. This is Pat Cockcroft on Mr. Zipperburn into turn 1. He gets the position. This is now P11 for Mr. Pat Cockcroft. His teammate behind, Mr. Russell Allen, he was side by side for just a second, but that Lexus of Mr. DJ Watts ahead, he just turned on the afterburners and pulled away. Allen
AKA just press the right pedal down. That Lexus is fast around here.
Speaking of the other Lexus of Curtis Lee, now on the inside going into turn 3. Russell Allen well out onto the marbles. Not a whole lot of traction there. But he will potentially have a move into this next left-hander. Keeps it respectful. So this is now Curtis Lee up into 14th place. Overall, some excellent battle in the midfield here. We still have Justin McKechnie right up behind Mr. Henry Ramirez. You see Zipperburn behind, right there behind Cockcroft as well. So we're looking at P10 through 15, all super close on track. Oh, as Zipperburn gets a little slidey out of that last corner. He should lose the position to DJ Watts because of the lack of traction there.
Yeah, he's totally clear into the braking zone. Still not able to fully go over. But yeah, which does give a much better run there for Zipperburn. Don't think he's going to be able to outpace the Lexus, though.
No, he's probably doing everything he can just to stay in the slipstream of that Lexus ahead.
Yeah.
And will be, again, vulnerable. This Lexus tag team duo just making their way through the field. Now Curtis Lee is going to be next to try to make the move past Mr. Zipperburn. Not on this occasion, but we will keep an eye on it.
This is shades of Paul Ricard, where the Lexus team just absolutely tore through the team. So, yeah. Well, I wonder if that's going to be a similar situation here. You know, it is interesting. We've had such tight battling. I wonder if anything has to do with it. You know, I said the rain was the equalizer, between our silver and gold drivers. So we had, all those silvers, in, a bit of a mixed up grid. And now that the race is dry, it's creating a bit of, chaos maybe, for these drivers. But everybody seems to be keeping it, relatively clean. Which I'm assuming not everybody, had dry setups planned, just because, sometimes it's hard to have that planned.
Yep, so as we come through now, we've got this lovely GTR livery on the Ball of Water racing team of Justin Rosenthal down here in P17. We got to get an update. This is our John Laz report on Mr. John Laz driving in P2. John Laz of the black and gold Porsche team, following behind Caleb Craig. So our running order: Caleb Craig, John Laz, and Mr. Carlos Guzman. Your podium at the moment. So John Laz, he has been dropped a little bit. Currently running 8/10 behind Mr. Caleb Craig.
I did see that gap up to like 1.3 at one time.
Yep. So John Laz has reeled it back in a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. What is that? Six shots? Something like that.
Yeah. So as we're coming down, so the view from the John Laz cam of this John Laz Porsche. So yeah. This looks super familiar. This was my season 10 race, where I was in a car that was slower on the straight line, but faster on the infield section, and I was just doing everything I could to stay in the slipstream. John Laz here, just right in that 0.6, 0.7 second gap. He's kind of just tagging along with Caleb Craig, who is running away with this race. The gap between P1 and P2, again, 3 seconds to Carlos Guzman.
Yeah. Well, it is difficult to be, a Porsche in this situation. I mean, look at all the cars around him. Those are all cars that are pretty fast down the straights. They're fast through not, just that turn 6 and 7 around here. That's where the Porsche really shines, right? But the rest of the track, that Bentley's strong, and you definitely need to keep in the slipstream, for anything to be able to take advantage of anything.
So in the meantime, we had a little bit of drama. This is Mr. Zipperburn, who was in hot on the brakes.
Yeah, very hot on the brakes.
And in the chaos of the move, did he stall his car and has dropped himself down to P18? Unfortunate situation for Mr. Zipperburn, but he's still moving. He's still back at it, trying to get himself back into this race. Back on board with Mr. John Laz, following closely behind Caleb Craig. The gap has come down.
It has. I wonder if
seconds over the line.
I wonder if Caleb had a mistake through turn 9 or 10 there. That is a tricky, both of those are tricky turns. They're definitely a little bit easier in the drive, but also
Laz
you
using
tend
more
to push
of the
it.
track, you gotta say. I mean, both on entry and exit, using all of the track limits.
I wonder if John Laz has more dry running.
Oh no, the Lexus. It's treacherous.
Just
out onto the grass.
And in the grass.
Huge front end damage. This is Mr. DJ Watts, who was running so well, has gotten himself a ton of front end damage. He'll have to pit to repair that. Currently running down in 21st position. If he can keep it up the inside of Mr. Alberts. Not quite. He's letting guys go. He knows he has damage. Respectful stuff from DJ Watt, so he'll have to limp it back. Back on board with John Laz. He's right. That infield section, he's able to pull it back. Within 1/10 of a second now, John Laz on Mr. Caleb Craig, who you would expect, now that we're back onto the straights, the Bentley will be able to extend the gap out a bit more.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, definitely, it's these sectors that it's hard to keep up with that car. But yeah, I wonder if John Laz has more dry running on this track, because I definitely have seen, I mean, you can see it there. There's so much more, taking so much more curb than Caleb Craig does, and that is the optimal way to drive this track. You could really push it out wide there on these braking zones. This is another one up to turn 4 that, you could really get out on the curb. Yeah, look at that. And so he's definitely using a lot more of the track. It looks like he has more experience in the dry, so I'm wondering if Caleb Craig only put in practice laps in the wet here, because it looks like he's avoiding the curbs like they are wet.
Yeah, interesting point. So he is still, though, doing just enough to hang on to this P1. You wonder now that this is where my mind would go to pit strategy. If you're John Laz, what is the best way to get around this Bentley if not on the straight?
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I wonder, is there? So it's been about 20 minutes into the race. Is there rain on the forecast? We could probably.
So let me just hit my escape key real quick. 30 minutes on the forecast.
30 minutes.
We could potentially have a little bit of rain at the end of this race. Oh, now we're talking. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
that's kind of tricky, because do you pit and then count on that rain not being too serious and being able to, finish the race on dries, or do you? I mean, that rain is going to be coming more in like 20 minutes, right? Because
So that would be, I believe, if it shows in the 30-minute window, it means it will be less than 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that it would have changed that in the 30 window probably, a couple minutes ago, I'd assume.
Potentially.
Oh, wow.
Super tight
Quite a
battling
bit.
here.
Yeah, quite a bit later on the brakes there was John Laz. I don't know if looked like Caleb maybe was going a little bit defensive.
Yeah, so you would expect, if our drivers are paying attention to the forecast, now the decision is, do I try to extend my dry tires as long as I can to make that late pit stop for wets? Otherwise, you would potentially... So, for example, if you were to stop now to put on your second set of dries, you may have to pit again to put on wets and just essentially kill your own race.
Yeah, you'd have to be counting on the rain not being bad enough for wet tires, which is definitely a gamble.
That's risky.
Yeah, it is risky for sure. In something like an endurance race, where you've got lots of, strategic options throughout, that tends to be something that you could have a little bit more flexibility with. But with such a short, just hour race, that's a big risk. But yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting to see. I am excited to see some rain. I was hoping, because rain tends to make things interesting, and seeing it was dry, I was hoping it wasn't gonna, thwart the excitement a bit. But yeah, no, this is still exciting.
So speaking of early pitters, so this is Mr. Justin McKechnie. He is
does
electing to pit for his second set of dry tires. Hopefully he'll be able to hang on. We'll have to keep an eye on him at the end of this race, if and when the rain starts to fall.
Yeah.
So on board, so this is a relatively tight battle. This is positions 15, 16, and 17. We've got Robert Almeida, John Ansom, and Christian Holmes. Ansom we see going wide into the braking zone of turn 2, losing that position to Holmes behind, and now under pressure from Alberts. In the Warped Head Racing, Aston Martin making the move down the inside, taking that P17 away from Mr. John Ansom. Well done to Mr. Martin Alberts. Another pitter, here we go. John Laz of the John Laz Black and Gold Porsche. John Laz into the pits with 37 minutes on the clock. That was where I was leaning. If you can't get past Caleb Craig on track, do you go for the big undercut? But now that we know that rain is on the forecast, this is a very risky move from John Laz.
It is. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I think, and it's also going to be interesting if that baits Caleb Craig to come in as well. So yeah, this is an interesting race for sure with that possible rain on the forecast.
So we're on board here with Mr. Uday Dillon, who is currently in P7, trying to track down Mr. Mark Anthony Eaton ahead, a previous race winner this season. So we know he's a fast driver, currently running in P6. But Uday Dillon in the Porsche not doing super well keeping attached through the infield section. Potentially a Porsche here struggling after you know, in the early runnings of this race when the track was fast, you know, did he use up too much of his tires, and is it affecting his pace here?
Oh, and it looks like he's coming into the pits as well.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. I think that's legal. I think that's fine.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so it looks like that first pit, I think it was Justin really kind of just,
Yep.
you know, maybe set off the drivers with like, well, if Justin's pitting, I'm going to pit. And yeah, so it looks like Caleb Craig is still going around though. So he's not being baited by John Laz coming in, which further makes it interesting too. Yeah, I really wonder what is going to happen with that rain. We'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yep, you have to mention though, so John Laz is currently holding the purple lap of this race at 129.155. Thinking that he's the fastest man on track. He's got the pace. He went for the undercut. That's one of his speed coupons right there. You've got 3 of those that you can use for free before you get your drive-through track limits penalty. So he's keeping it moving. No big deal there. Jumping back ahead with our surviving Lexus of Mr. Curtis Lee running in P8. Semi-close behind the Ford Mustang you see there of Mr. Henry Ramirez. So another on-track battle we're keeping our eyes on. Got here Christian Holmes still right up behind the BMW of Mr. Robert Almeida. P13 and 14 on track. We saw, so this is Caleb Craig making his way past a bit of blue flag traffic, I believe. That was
yes,
Uday
the Mustang
Dillon. Yeah,
is
he had done his
Guzman,
pit stop. Uday Dillon, so in 24th position, letting our race leader Caleb Craig past. Yeah, man, again, you have to say, Caleb Craig, he's not using all of the track.
No, he isn't. Like I said, I don't think he's done really much dry running around here. Because I mean, even right there, I am, you know, in the dry, I'm just all the way up on the side there. And I mean, this is a track where you can really use the curbs. I mean, all that painted blue. I mean, you could basically run your inside tires almost on that stuff in a lot of these turns. You know, or coming here, he used it on that braking zone into turn 9. But yeah, it's definitely helpful to really use all of that track, as you can see these drivers, you know, doing here with the braking into turn 4.
Yep, so this is Mr. Zipperburn, who we saw having some early trouble, but has worked his way back up the field, currently in a battle with Mr. Justin Rosenthal for P10. Of course, we've had some drivers ahead of them pit, but currently P10 and 11 on track, locked in battle. Zipperburn right up behind the tail of that Nissan GTR that had a little bit of a slide coming into this third sector here.
Tokyo drifting, just GTR things there. Yeah, and this is a little bit. Ooh. Yeah, it was a little, and that did throw off. I mean, that totally threw off Justin there.
Yeah, great tactical racing.
Yeah, which is, is that second McLaren gonna go for it?
That's Richie Wood taking advantage of Justin Rosenthal being pushed a little bit wide. They are still side by side coming up this straight into turn 2. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? We've seen a ton of action around the outside so far from D3. Justin Rosenthal, does he have what it takes? Wow, Richie Wood super compromised on the inside line.
Yeah.
A little contact on the exit.
Little contact. Yeah, he was, I mean, with that compromised line too, he really gave a little bit too much space to Justin Rosenthal, which definitely throws off not only your braking but your exit into the next turn, and then you know he has to go defensive here for the BMW of Almeida there. So although
Almeida
I
and
say that,
Holmes right up behind Richie Wood, he is under super pressure going backwards in this race.
Yeah, but then again, you know, Justin goes a little bit wide there through turn 6, and that opens him back up to Richie Wood here. So yeah, there's a great battling between these 4 drivers here.
Yes,
Almeida on the inside into turn 9.
Holmes around the outside. Oh man. A little bit of jitter
Back.
there. That hurt my brain to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, over the sausage curve. Yeah, game didn't like that, I don't think.
Man, so that
Richie Wood going
BMW.
defensive.
Robert Almeida now on the outside. Brave on the brakes. Richie is not. I mean, okay, so we got to talk about racecraft, I suppose. Richie Wood is just leaving too much space on the outside for his opponents and not able to keep up that minimum apex speed that you need to get a good exit in this McLaren. Has now lost the position to both Robert Almeida and Christian Holmes. Down into P14.
And with these tighter turns, especially, T1, it doesn't seem like it's a 90-degree turn, but it is. And, if you're leaving too much space, it definitely could compromise you on the both the turn in and the exit. And, you definitely want to, it's a balance because you don't want to, squeeze your opponent off track, but you definitely don't want to give too much space.
So Henry Ramirez indicating a pit here.
Yep.
So that will be with 29. Oh,
it wasn't a pit.
Why was he so far to the inside then?
I wonder if that was a similar thing, defensive. That was extremely defensive.
Extremely.
I don't know.
I mean, he was literally touching the inside of the track.
I wonder. Okay, so I've done this before, where I meant to pit and then forgot to brake because you have to brake way earlier when you're on there, and then just be like, you know what? I meant to do that. I'm gonna go around another lap.
So here we have Robert Almeida into turn 1, making the move here on Justin Rosenthal. Fantastic aggression here, getting himself up into P11. We got to check back the John Laz cam. John Laz in the black and gold Porsche. Here he has made his early pit stop because he wanted to free himself from Caleb Craig, who was potentially holding him up, but has now found himself behind another car faster than him in a straight line. It's the Lexus of DJ Watts,
who hasn't repaired damage.
Hasn't repaired, and now John Laz, despite surely being faster in the infield section, I think he's getting a little held up here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult car to be behind, even with front end damage, because I mean, it is just so fast. And in this situation, DJ does not have to concede the position, even though they're on different strategies. He's not blue flagged, so
no, this
he
is
does
a
not
real
have to
battle
concede
for
this
on-track position. Oh, and this is disaster for John Laz, who, from a strategy point of view, I mean, this is not what he was looking for. He was looking for clear track, fast lap times, and he is just getting ruined by this Lexus in front of him.
Yeah, that is definitely tough, as they both go pretty wide. That was almost speed coupon territory. That is definitely in the dry a turn where you can get nabbed. Typically for me, it's turn 1 is the most most amount of speed coupons used. It's really easy to go out wide there, and it's particularly strict. I'll even full lift off track and still get nabbed for it. But yeah, look at the Lexus, even with that top speed, or I mean that damage, has such a top speed advantage, taking a lot of that inside curve.
Good exit though for John Laz. Will that be enough to get alongside and potentially make this move into turn 3? DJ
doesn't have overlaps. He's gonna have to be super brave on brakes if he's gonna send it.
This is the time to do it if you're ever gonna do it. This is it, John Laz. He's got the inside. They'll be side by side coming into this next left-hander. You got to be brave on the brakes here, John Laz. This is it. Yes.
Yep.
Gets
and
the
he does
move
it.
done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you want to make that move before that, because you do not want to be on the inside of a Lexus that has damage, or on the outside of a Lexus that has damage, because that car understeers like crazy through that turn without damage.
So instantly, look at that gap. DJ Watts getting dropped by over a second here. So yeah, it took a while, but as soon as John Laz was able to get free, he's back in the hunt, and man, he's got some ground to make up. That was not good for him.
It's just walking. I mean, already 2 seconds, and immediately DJ Watts has to go from worrying about the Porsche of John Laz to worrying about the McLaren here.
I believe this is not for position. That's Mr.
blue
Sean
flag.
Daniels behind. Yeah, so that's blue flag.
That's blue flag.
Sean Daniels can unlap himself, but P31, you're not going to do too much to risk another penalty here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like his nearest opponent isn't that far ahead of DJ Watts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to do much. It's maybe not worth the risk.
So Holmes and Almeida still locked in battle here. P11 and 12, pretty close on track. Half a second separating these two drivers. I'll have to keep an eye on them. Checking up ahead, Carlos Guzman has pulled to within a half a second here of our race leader, Mr. Caleb Craig. 24 minutes left on the clock, and if you'll bear with me, I'm pressing escape here to see. So our rain,
it still says 30.
Still says 30, so it's not quite within that 10-minute window yet. So somewhere between
That's a good
those
point.
two.
It could be within the next 5 minutes.
It's more than 10. It's less than 30 is what that's saying. So it's still coming.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, so both of these drivers.
Look how much
Caleb
Guzman really has gotten up onto the back of Caleb Craig. I mean, at this point, their tires are going to be tired. This track is hard on front engine cars, especially in that middle, kind of turn 6, turn 7 area or a bit. I mean, honestly, it's hard on the front tires everywhere for these front engine cars, but.
Another on-track battle. This is Henry Ramirez now up against Sweeney, who I saw had some front-end damage there.
Yeah, I saw that.
On that THR BMW, so maybe a little down in straight line speed, allowing Henry Ramirez now up in 6th place. Good showing out of him. A potential pit here if he can hit his braking marker. Chris Sweeney, here we go. 23 minutes left on the clock, and he will hopefully be repairing some of that damage. Back up ahead, Carlos Guzman still right behind Caleb Craig. That is a blue flag driver behind it. Looks like the Uday Dillon Porsche. And indeed, Herberth Motorsports, the other black and gold Porsche, hanging out down in P22. He's got a front row seat to this awesome battle here. Carlos Guzman and Caleb Craig here, 4/10 separating these two drivers, coming through the infield section of this super dry, but potentially will be wet in a minute, Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, and I wonder what kind of chaos, because a lot of these drivers still holding out for the rain, it seems. But Aiden.
When it rains, it pours. This is Aiden Burke having trouble again. Exit of the last turn, just a little loose, little slidey, and
kept it out of the wall.
Yep, so no damage, but loss of track position, unfortunately. Back up ahead, Carlos Guzman, Caleb Craig. The battle continues. Checking in with our John Laz cam. So, looking at track position, it'll be interesting to see where the top drivers come out after their mandatory pit. I mean, he's lost a bit here, unfortunately. John Laz currently P13, getting right up behind now. His next battle on track, his next target to overtake. This is Mr. Justin Rosenthal of the Ball Racing Team, Nissan GTR. Little wide, little loose through the second to last turn. John Laz making the move up the inside, so that is another move done and dusted. John Laz up into P13 overall, without anybody ahead of him having made a pit yet.
Yeah. I mean, if this was a dry race, I'd say he has it at this point, but. We've said we've got rain on the forecast, so this is going to be
within the 10-minute window. Less than 10 minutes to rain, and at some point after that, it will increase. So we will only see more rain towards the end of this race.
Yeah, so
20 minutes left on the clock.
10 minutes of rain to
Less
do
than 10
on
to
some.
rain. Oh man.
Yeah, on some relatively old dry tires. My guess is he might have to pit.
Yeah, John Laz, this strategy call may not pay off for him.
It was risky, and if it does pay off, that is quite the strategy. I mean, I love a risky strategy, so I mean, if it does pay off, that would be amazing. But yeah, we'll see how it works.
So some tight on-track action. This is the battle for P4 and 5. We're watching Curtis Lee taking the fight to Mark Anthony Eaton. These are some blue flag drivers ahead. We see the iconic Justin McKechnie BMW, as well as the Ferrari of, I want to say, Colin Shea on that name, and indeed
a little bit of a bump.
So these drivers are blue flagged, so Shea does the smart thing and gets out of the way. Curtis Lee now attempting the outside line on Mark Anthony Eaton coming into turn 3 here, but that McLaren too strong on the brakes. He fights off the challenge, at least for now.
Yeah, that outside, and pulling the over-under in a situation like that, the Lexus has so much understeer. It's a bit.
Yeah, no, that's not happening in that car.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky to make that work there, but
so Mark Anthony Eaton running a strong P4 currently. And that GRR Cool Runnings McLaren. Got McKechnie ahead again, blue flagged, but hanging on. He's got the pace. It's not like he's blue flagged for being slow. It's because he had made his pit stop pretty early. He's got his rain light on the back, predicting the rain.
He also always runs his rain light. he always runs his rain light. He always has his flashers ready to go.
Here we go. He's conceding the position now, releasing both Eaton and Lee up this straight into turn 2. Both drivers doing well to keep it slowed down, making it through, keeping it straight in line. Guzman still right up behind Mr. Caleb Craig. You got to give a special shout out, of course, to Mr. Jay Queasy, running a pretty lonely P3 at this point in time.
Yeah, Jay's had quite a quiet race, I feel like. However, he's got strong pace, obviously. He's running P3 right now. And but yeah, it's not much. I feel like, after those opening laps, it's been pretty quiet and lonely for Jay.
Yep, so that driver behind is a blue flag, so this is not an on-track battle as he gets dangerously close to those track limits. I believe on that turn it is the second set of, it's the blue and white curb that is the track limits. I think he just barely held on to that.
Yeah. It's easy to push that, at least for me. Like I said, T1 is where I get the most pings, but that's definitely where I get the second most pings. Ooh,
pretty
a little bit
slidey.
Yeah.
Losing traction, this is around. So that's going to lose ground to Eaton behind and leave him vulnerable to Henry Ramirez, P6 in that Grizzly Racing Mustang.
Yeah, having experience in the Lexus around here, this is where the tires start to hurt a little bit. So I think we could see evidence of that, and around there is where it gets the most tricky, I feel.
Yep. So Rosenthal, the troubles continue. We're now watching Mr. John Ansom, who has made his way up to the back of this bottle of water GTR. Coming through turn 1 here. Good drives from both cars. Not quite strong enough, I would expect, to make his way alongside, side by side into turn 2. But Rosenthal, the struggles continue. We'll see if John Ansom can make his way. Not great drive, potentially from either driver coming out of T2. That looked really slidey on that apex from Rosenthal.
Yeah, but he definitely pulled quite a gap. Yeah, I mean the Nissan is fast on a straight line. It's definitely like a little mini Lexus in terms of its top speed. It's pretty slippery, but not quite as slippery, but pretty darn slippery.
So back up ahead, we're on again with Curtis Lee, who is still right up behind Mark Anthony Eaton into the braking zone of turn 1 here. Eaton goes well wide.
Really wide, yeah.
Which will be an opportunity for Lee. I mean, side by side already in the Lexus power.
Yeah.
This move is already done and dusted well before the braking zone. Curtis Lee making his way up into P4 of this race now. Eaton now under pressure from Ramirez behind.
Yeah, I think Eaton did quite a big lift there on turn 1, for going wide. I wonder if he's running low on speed coupons there for track limits.
Checking in now are John Lascam. P12, 14 minutes left in this race. Checking the weather report, still rain coming within the next 10 minutes. Would expect it to be coming soon here. John Laz potentially at risk if he can't hold on in what will be some wet and slippery driving at the end of this race here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said too, his tires aren't going to be feeling too hot once that rain does hit. Which I don't know how much of a difference that'll make, because it's still slicks and wet,
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's only going to take a half a lap for his tires to lose all of their heat. They're going to lose all of their grip, and he's going to have a rough go of it if he tries to extend and stay on those slick tires. But the rain hasn't fallen yet. Checking the interior cams, no drops on this windshield. 14 minutes left in this race. Super tight on-track battle, so this is
yeah.
We've got Curtis Lee ahead, Mark Anthony Eaton, Henry Ramirez, and Sean Williams in this beautiful Stefaz Designs Champion Motorsport Ferrari 296. He's just waiting in the wings, waiting to see if any of the drivers will make a mistake while battling ahead, and he can jump in and maybe steal himself some points in this race.
Yeah, it's really close. Just small things could happen, and the sea's kind of open for you, and then you could just sail away. So I mean, it's definitely you want to keep really close, not make the mistake yourself.
Yep, still super tight on track. Checking in on our battles down the field. We were looking at Holmes and Almeida there for a second. This is Anson and Rosenthal coming into this infield section. We had some early drama with the Yarin brothers, currently running down in P16 and 17, which is still a respectable result. They're going to be pulling some good points home if they can keep it together. All of these drivers, looking at the board, of our top 17, only one driver, John Laz, has made his pit stop. So with 12 minutes left in this race, everybody else has been doing well to keep an eye on their forecast. And we're going to see a flurry of pit stops if and when these raindrops start to fall. Nothing yet on this windshield, though.
The driver is on the wrong side, though.
Yeah, what's up with this Bentley Motorsport right-hand drive? That would be confusing for me to try to drive.
Oh, are those windshield wipers I see?
Was it? It is!
There's windshield wipers.
It has started. On board now with John Laz. So 12 minutes left in this race. John Laz, who has made his one mandatory stop for tires, was hoping to be able to go until the end of this race, but the rain clouds have opened up finally, and you would expect he is going to be slipping and sliding all over this track unless he elects to make a pit stop. I'm looking, so our leader now, Caleb Craig, so he's just come out of turn 2, coming now braking zone of turn 3. This is the time. You would expect all of our front runners will be needing to make their pits. Eaton has come into the pits. Ramirez has come into the pits.
Yeah.
Phil Brown has come into the pits. Behind I can't even tell. There's so many of them. That was Zipper Burn. Got Holmes coming in. This is it, boys. The rain has started. Come in and put on your wets.
Yeah,
John Laz goes past the pit entry. He's continuing on.
He's going to really try. I think he's going to commit. You know, I ran dries for about 20 minutes in the Red Bull Ring Endurance.
And how did it go for you?
It actually wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible. It was pretty light rain.
Caleb pits. Guzman continues on. So Guzman in P2 electing not to pit at the first possible opportunity. Risky strategy. We'll see how that pays off. He's, I guess, expecting that it's not going to get too bad too fast.
The track, I'm assuming right now is labeled damp.
Greasy.
It's
still greasy. Not even damp yet.
In my opinion, that's still early for pitting. Yeah. So, you know, I typically do not pit until at least damp.
So Carlos Guzman may be doing it right.
Yeah. Carlos Guzman, he might have the right strategy here. You know, leaving it a lap or two, you know, to go. We'll see.
Man, so huge drama. So Curtis Lee as well has continued on, electing not to stop yet. Almeida just now coming into the pits. But yeah, everybody else. Craig has pit, coming out now. Jay Queasy slapping on his wets. Sean Williams in the pits as well. Let's take a look. So John Laz. Let's check. So what is the on-track position? So John Laz coming down the straight towards turn 2. Of the drivers who have hit, Lee is actually ahead of John Laz still.
So, but he hasn't.
You're right. Oh, I'm sorry. It would be Caleb Craig. Okay. So Caleb Craig just came out of turn 2. Right behind John Laz, essentially. Only 4 seconds separating these two drivers.
Ooh, and he's going to be on the
And John
the
Laz
wet
on
tires.
the dries. Oh.
That is certainly not nearly as much of a gap as you'd want.
Yeah, that's
if
not the
you were
gap he
trying
was
this
hoping
risky.
for. Oh, no. I wonder if we can see. So this is on board. Let's check the bonnet cam of Caleb Craig. So that driver ahead, you see him just barely, not the one right ahead, but in the distance ahead, you can see John Laz on track. So Caleb Craig on the wets, John Laz on the dries with 8 minutes to go in this race. I cannot imagine John Laz being able to fight off this challenge from Caleb Craig, who's getting held up a bit by the champion. Don't come into the pits. Oh, he was going to cut back across. Oh my goodness. That was a bit of a ballet between Craig and I'm not sure who. I think it was Wazinski. You could tell Wazinski wanted to pit but missed his braking point. Had to continue on, wisely choosing not to dart back across the track and take out the man who you would expect to be in a few moments' time our race leader, Caleb Craig. Curtis Lee has now pit. Carlos Guzman now pitting as well.
So you don't see Caleb Craig closing that gap down much right now. Granted, of course, he was behind the blue flag traffic.
Oh yeah, he got way held up on that last lap.
For sure. Yeah, but still, it's not, you know, coming down too quickly. And, you know, this is 7 minutes to go in the race, which is not a lot of time. Man, it is interesting. It is interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, taking
I'm
a look
also
at our track
curious.
Conditions again, it has gone damp.
It's damp. It's just damp, though.
It's just damp. It's
yeah,
not.
it's just damp.
It's not wet yet.
Yeah.
The gap is coming down though, so now within 4 seconds, so he is pulling it back. I mean, he started this lap, I think, almost 5 seconds down.
Yep.
Half a lap later, he's pulled a second already on John Laz. We'll have to see the update as they come across the line, but Caleb Craig on the hunt has the advantage. Oh man, John Laz, he's in trouble.
Carlos Guzman is moving, right? But he's not going to get in front. Nope.
Nope, definitely not. There goes
There goes Laz.
It's Laz. Here comes Craig. Whoa.
Ooh. He got in front
He
of
got in
Craig.
front, staying out the
That
extra
is a
time on the greasy
huge-
track.
That is huge blessing for John Laz here, because that is going to occupy Caleb Craig and afford John Laz some time, because these two are likely going to be battling.
So the gap ahead, so this is John Laz. He's 2.2 seconds only ahead of Carlos Guzman. But yeah, like you said, he's going to be under pressure here and not able to extract the maximum pace. If I were these two guys, I would set this battle aside for now and go get P1.
Yeah.
Oh, but side by side.
They're
Caleb
side by
Craig, can he
side.
make it happen around the outside? No
Guzman
way.
holds it.
Oh, it's tight. Holding on to the position for now, Carlos Guzman. We've got a yellow flag on track. We're not going to look at it. This battle is too tight. The gap ahead, despite this battling, the gap ahead has come down 1.6 seconds to John Laz. You see him at the bottom of his screen. He's right there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, yeah, these two are battling, of course, but the track is getting slipperier and slipperier for those slick tires.
It's within a second. John Laz, this man is cooked.
Yeah.
He is done for. Stick a fork in
These
him.
are not.
It was a risky strategy call. It would have been
I love
amazing
it.
if he
I
worked
love
out.
the risky strategy, but yeah, this is now he is just in attacking range from
Yeah.
these two drivers on definitely the optimal tire in these conditions.
Gotta imagine
And
this
Guzman
is the
just
turn
sends
right
it.
here. Yeah, this is where it happens. John Laz, a valiant effort, a risky strategy call.
Although
He's keep it. Wow. Hey, I spoke
Wow.
too soon. How did he get that
Yeah.
much drive out of the corner? Carlos
I-
Guzman held up, under threat now from Caleb Craig. Can the Bentley get it done around the outside? Little contact. Keep it tidy, gentlemen. Don't hand the race to John Laz by taking each other out. Guzman holds on to the position. There is some blue flag traffic ahead.
no,
Oh, no.
Guzman. Oh, Guzman on the better tire. Just
Oh no, John Laz! Oh God.
And then contact from Caleb Craig. Oh, that is so
So into the
unfortunate
braking
for
zone
John
of this
Laz here.
right-hander. It was a little bit of contact from Guzman behind. And as John Laz tried to gather it back up, Caleb Craig hit
Here
him with the
comes
1-2
across.
punch.
Oh my gosh.
So
That is
well, so now let's reassess. So this is John Laz still on the podium. He's sitting in P3. The driver behind, Jake Wheezy, P4, coming out of this final turn here. I mean, it's a huge gap behind.
yeah, and it's only I mean, we are
It's 12. It's 11 seconds. It's saying
but
it's saying
only, like,
13 on
2
your
laps
screen
left.
now, but it's come down a bit. I mean, I think John I don't know. It's 2 laps left. Can
Because
John
not
Laz
only
hold
is-
on?
not only is John Laz dealing with damage or bad tires, but also damage now. So
Yeah, gee, yeah.
know,
He does have some diffuser damage.
it is probably not a nice Porsche drive at this point.
Okay, well, so let's look at the strategy. So he's got Jay Queasy well behind. In 5th place, Kevin Johnston is another 10 to 12 seconds off of that. I mean, he's still got some good points on the table here if he can just hold it together.
Yep. Yeah, and yeah, so he's still obviously not in a bad position. You know, P3 is a great position to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
We've got time to take a breather, so
yeah.
you know, we don't know what happened. We were looking at our John Laz replay. Caleb Craig has retaken the lead of this race. Ooh, because Guzman is struggling. You saw him sliding out of the last turn there. The gap between P1 and P2 has now grown to 3 seconds, 2.5 as he crosses the line. A little bit of damage you see on the hood, maybe from that tap with John Laz, but Guzman he lost P1 and he's lost a ton of ground to Caleb Craig.
Yeah.
Interesting point from the chat, Mr. Derek Schweppe. Howdy, welcome to the stream. We miss you. Hope you have a speedy recovery and you're back in the seat soon. But yeah, after penalties, if John Laz can keep it close, so, typically in SRA here, you get a 10-second time penalty, maybe only a 5-second time penalty. If John Laz can keep it tight with P1 and 2, he may still have a win on the books if penalties are handed out to Craig and Guzman.
Yeah, you just got to keep it within that 10-second, which, again, is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, that's a tough ask.
This is going to be the last lap, maybe? It's going to be
20
close.
seconds on the clock. Yeah, I don't know if Caleb Craig can make it around best.
I don't think so, no. No, I don't think so. It's close, but no.
It's very close.
Well, now I really hope
6 seconds on the
so
clock.
confident.
Surely not.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's
3, 2, 1, you're right. Okay, so this is Caleb Craig in the Comic Racing Bentley across the line, taking the victory here over Carlos Guzman P2, and John Laz, he holds on, and with a gap of 6.7 seconds. There's some potentials here. Get your stewarding tickets ready.
Yeah,
this will not be decided until Saturday.
Yeah, this is, we've had a couple of those, haven't we?
Jay Queasy crosses the line in 4th place, 10 seconds behind Laz. Kevin Johnston, he was under pressure from Uday Dillon behind. You see it on screen there, but Uday Dillon not able to make it happen. So Kevin Johnston in that West Coast Best Coast Audi taking P5, followed by Dillon. We've got Curtis Lee in P7. Pat Cockcroft, a respectable 8th place, some good points there. Williams, Brown, Mark Anthony Eaton, and Zipperburn rounding out your top 12. What a race.
Yeah, that was, I mean, even in the just dry sections, that was a wild race.
It's not over yet. Let's talk about this battle. This is P17, 18, and 19. We got Ansem, we got Alberts, we got one of the Yarin brothers, we got Rosenthal.
He gets 2 positions on the end for Jeremy Yarn.
From 18th to 16th place at the very end. What a result. Congratulations.
Wow. Yeah.
To all of our drivers for surviving that wet and wild ending to our Red Bull Ring race. That was what I wanted to see. Mixed conditions. Oh, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, to Season 11, we're here with Round 1. It's a brand new day.
Quite the finish between all of these drivers.
All right, we're back. I clicked the wrong scene. Don't worry about it. So, oh my goodness. Jeez. So Caleb Craig doing the damn thing there. He started the race P1. He finished the race P1. Carlos Guzman, Jay Queasy. I wonder if any of these boys are in chat. We could pull them in for an interview.
We do have Caleb Craig. So Caleb Craig, we got you in the commentator's booth. You got us?
I got you.
Wow, what a crazy finish to the race. We saw John Laz go for that risky pit strategy. What were you thinking that whole time? Were you just thinking, I'm just going to wait for the rain, or what was your mindset there?
I was doing the rain dance in my chair.
Yeah, just hoping for rain.
I was so terrified because as soon as we loaded into the session, it was dry, and I did not have anything set for dry. I guessed temperatures and everything, and just prayed for the best.
Yeah, well, we were noticing that because we were looking at your lines, and you weren't taking nearly as much curb as John Laz. So I was wondering, did you do any dry running?
Nope.
No. Yeah. Well, hey, you had really strong pace in the dry still too. So, and I'm sure also able to use that Bentley advantage over the Porsche. It's always interesting fighting with Porsches in the fast and powerful cars.
When in doubt, make the boat wider.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, hey, that was quite the crazy race from our point of view with quite the crazy ending there. Do you have any final thoughts, any shout outs?
Congrats to the lads for holding on, because whenever we all kind of killed each other into that corner, and then he bounced off me, I thought it was over for him. So I'm glad he held on to at least a podium.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean he was a trooper with those slicks in the wet too. But yeah, well, hey, congrats on another win, two wins in a row, and yeah, I mean really bringing that Bentley and also showing the silver drivers too how it's done. This is definitely going to eke out that silver championship. Are you thinking a win is on the cards for the overall championship?
All I know is my teammate Riggs has got a little bit more more work for him if he wants silver.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, huge congrats on the second win, and yeah, I'll send you back to the D3 race review. I think you guys will have some stuff to go over there.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, Caleb Craig there with yeah, quite an interesting race win there. I mean, I think we'll see how the stewarding goes for everybody this week. I think we've had a couple changes during races recent in the season, and we might we'll see what happens, how the stewards take all the context.
Yep, definitely. So we do have a special treat for the viewers at home. If we can get him to stay here, Mr. John Laz, if you don't mind, we would love to talk to you. We were watching you all race long. I think everybody at home was rooting for you. That strategy call to go for the early switch onto the second set of dries and then stay out in the rain. I mean, what did that feel like on track?
It was a mess. It was it was a fun one though.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest. I love the strategy. That is the type of strategy that I really like. So were you counting on the rain not actually coming, or were you just counting on just sticking it out on the dries? When the rain comes, it comes?
I saw one little raindrop with a tiny little thing right when I pulled in the pit, so I was like, all right, maybe I'll be able to make it. But yeah, definitely waiting was the right call. But then once I did it, I was full commit. There was no really going back to pitting again for wets.
Yeah, and we saw after that the chaos unfolded there in at turn 6. We were glad to see because that could have definitely been worse, and still able to get into a P3. We'll also see how stewards feel about the whole situation. But
yeah, P3
still,
was definitely on my mind at that point. I was just giving them a little run for their money for fun, but I knew they were going to get around eventually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's difficult, when you're on the wrong tire and trying to keep cars behind. But hey, you did a great job with it. I mean, you had an insane pace. I mean, even in the practice race, I was like, man, John Laz is gonna be fast. So yeah, you were very quick. You had fastest lap. You were fast in that dries. What was your thought process also when you noticed that you loaded in to a dry server? Did you have a dry setup and everything?
Setup, but I was not as happy as I would have been if it was as flooded as possible. The Porsche was doing pretty well in the wet, and it felt good. It was fast. It was good getting out of turns. It's a hard car to make overtakes with, so it was. I was excited for a wetter track, but then once it was dry, it was showtime in the dry.
Yeah, we were kind of talking how I think came to the conclusion that the Porsche is good in the wet if you could handle it. But it can be a tricky car, punishing. But if you're comfortable with it, it could be a strong, really strong car. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer you didn't get to really spread its legs there in the wet. But hey, I mean that was an impressive drive though from you on the dries there in that wet.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So any final shout outs before I head you back or send you back to the D4?
Nope. Shout outs to the other guy on the guys on the podium. That was a blast.
Yeah. Well, hey, yeah. Huge congrats on a very entertaining race.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
So yeah, John Lass. Yeah. Hey,
John Lass, the man.
Yeah, very good spirits there too. I wouldn't help but feel a little frustrated if I was in his shoes, but yeah, he was keeping it cool though, and both on track and yeah, in his mindset, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. So that is the conclusion of our race here at the Red Bull Ring. Be sure to join us next week. We'll be back same time, same place for our race in Zandvoort. A great track to hot lap, overtaking, maybe not so much. So hopefully our drivers are going to be practicing their qualifying setups. As we head out of here, Donovan Colton, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, that was a wild race. D3 always delivers, so yeah, definitely excited to see what they bring up for the next few races.
Yeah, very good. All right, so thank you to all of our viewers out there in YouTube land. This is Philip Mueller and Donovan Colton. We will see you next week.